It's jobs. It's about getting Australians back into jobs. It's about keeping Australians in jobs. It's about training Australians to get into jobs that will be there in the future. With unemployment expected to be at a measured rate of over 7% over the next 2 years, jobs is the issue, the number one economic issue. And with rates low and expected to be low and financial markets performing well, and rates being in a position where we could expect them to be for at least 3 years, if not more, which is what Dr Lowe told us this morning, it was important for governments to focus on three key areas. Three areas that I must say match exactly the economic policy of our government. Firstly, income support. JobKeeper, JobSeeker, other payments in support of persons across the country, of which is predominantly and overwhelmingly done by the Commonwealth, but state and territory governments are also engaging in that area, and we welcome that. Secondly, in the area of infrastructure programs and capital works programs, training and skills programs across energy, transport, housing, schools and hospitals. Thirdly, to ensure there is a greater ease of doing business and investment through areas like taxes and regulation, ensuring there is a dynamism that will be in our economy as it seeks to recover in the years ahead. It was very much an outlook that Dr Lowe and Dr Kennedy spoke of, not just for today, but for tomorrow and in the years ahead. And these are three critical areas. Now, particularly in relation to the second of these points, that is infrastructure and programs, these were areas that Dr Lowe was addressing specifically and directly to the states. As I've noted before, the level of Commonwealth investment in fiscal intervention in this crisis is well over 15% of our economy as a share of domestic state product of the states in total, around 2.5%. Now that ranges across the states and territories, but the Reserve Bank Governor called on the states and territories today to lift their fiscal investment over the next 2 years in programs of the nature that I've outlined, which didn't lead to permanent increases in public spending to the tune of 2% of GDP or $40 billion over the next 2 years. Now, right now, currently, all of the announced measures of the states and territories are currently sitting in the vicinity of just shy of $48 billion. So the Governor is saying there needs to be an additional $40 billion on top of that by the states and territories over the next 2 years. But this needs to be done in a coordinated way. Don't expect states and territories to be making announcements tomorrow morning about where that will be done. That will need to be done in a careful and purposeful way, in a way that builds and works off existing programs to get the maximum efficiency, that extends capital programs that are already in place, training programs like Job Trainer itself, which are incredibly important for supporting that adjustment. The debt that will be required to fund that is one that the Reserve Bank Governor said can be absorbed by the states and territories with their existing areas of exposure, and I would support that view. State debt to GDP, to GSP, I should say, is far less than what it is for the Commonwealth, and they are in a position to raise those funds. And as you know, the Reserve Bank is active in the markets to ensure that the rates that they're able to borrow at are maintained at low levels for many years to come. And so there is an opportunity for them to do that. But the expenditure, of course, needs to be purposeful. It needs to be targeted. It needs to go where it's going to have the best effect. We had a very good discussion about that, about how state governments can be supporting local governments with their works and their measures, particularly as they reach out beyond metropolitan areas into regional communities as well. And we welcome that discussion. We spoke of things like water infrastructure and the like. Currently, as I said, it's around 2.4% of GDP where the states in total, that's all of them together, currently have their measures, and that ranges from about 1.3% here in the ACT, that is their state product, to 3.7% of gross state product in Tasmania. So it's important that we do this together to make sure what the Commonwealth is doing, while we would be doing things in 100% capacity on our own right. Equally, state governments on things like housing and local government expenditure, which are completely in their bailiwick, they would do that, but we would seek to synchronise it wherever possible, and where there are infrastructure projects and other programs like Job Trainer, then we're doing them with each other and giving good forward plans to give confidence to the economy.